Hello, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Inside the Artist with your host, John J. Ruppert. Today is Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, and we're sitting down with renowned author, poet, Emiliano Martin, who is about to grace us all by reading some of his holiday poems he's published over the years. Mr. Martin, first of all, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
How are you today?
Wonderful. Glad to be here with you.
Those of us who are familiar with your work and your life as a writer know that you were born in Spain. Please tell us about your experiences growing up there as a child and a young adult during the holidays.
Of course, that was a long time ago. And the holidays, as we call it in America, are just about the same in Spain. Or they used to be. We have Christmas, we have New Year's Eve, we have New Year's celebrations, and on top of that, there is always the celebration of the Three Wise Men. That is a big holiday, or used to be a bigger holiday in those days. The kids used to love it. Now they are more Americanized and they celebrate Santa Claus.
Did that holiday have a name?
The holiday in Spanish is called Los Reyes Magos, which means something like the Three Wise Men. And it is the story of the three wise men that went down to Bethlehem to present gifts to baby Jesus at his birth.
And how did you celebrate that holiday?
Very similar as Christmas Eve in this country. There is a big dinner for the family and the kids, and then the next day the kids wake up and they find the gifts from the three wise men on the floor.
Was it on the same day, December 25th?
No, this happens on the evening of January the 5th, and the holiday itself is January the 6th. In the Catholic calendar is a holiday. We used to go to Mass that day, and it is a big celebration, especially for the kids. Although lately the kids also celebrate Christmas with gifts the American style. So you can say that they double dip on the process of receiving gifts, which is good, one for Christmas and another one for the three wise men.
In addition to that holiday, was there any other different holidays you celebrate in Spain that they don't celebrate over here?
The holidays in Spain compared to the US are out of proportion. Every day is a holiday in Spain, or it used to be like that. Of course, we don't have what we call in America Thanksgiving as a typical American holiday, but there are other holidays throughout the country, throughout the year, that people celebrate passionately.
We've just celebrated Thanksgiving recently, and I know you'd mentioned that in Spain they didn't used to celebrate Thanksgiving. So, seeing as you now are in the United States, have you ever written any poems about Thanksgiving?
I did write a poem that has become a classic in most of the poetry readings I give in public, especially at this time of the year, around Thanksgiving. It's a poem I do like reading.
Would you care to read that for us?
Absolutely.
Great.
The poem is called Ode to Squanto. And of course, everybody knows Squanto was the American Indian, a member of the Wampanoag tribe up in the land we now call Massachusetts. He was in the receiving committee to the Pilgrims way back in the early 17th century. Ode to Squanto. Up and down he walked and shouted, "Who are these people? Where do they come from? Why don't they ask for permission to dock their ship in my harbor? They certainly look strange. If they come one step closer, I don't think I could restrain myself from sending them back to hell, where I believe they belong. They look pale, weary, hungry. They talk too fast. And they say words that I cannot understand. They use some kind of a language we have never heard before. The men act quite funny. The women look shy. And the children look around with eyes and fear and the desire to cry. Yes, they do dress so much in black, with those silly looking hats. They truly do make me laugh. They also brought a religion, customs, willpower, and songs for someone they call their God. I do not appreciate that, nor I have to give a damn. I simply cannot believe this is happening to me, while in my own land I breathe. This is crazy, so bizarre. Yet Squanto thought about it as he took one step back. Then he smiled, taking a chance. Since that day, the shoreline of Plymouth Rock has not ever been the same. And that is my ode to Squanto.
Now, when you were growing up in Spain, what's the first thing you remember about them telling you about Thanksgiving in America? What did they teach you in Spain about it?
Very little in school. They just happened to mention it, but we learn about it through television and American movies. But in school, I remember it was just mentioned as something, a historical fact. The Pilgrims came to the North American coast and they tried to join the Indians, and the Indians invited them for dinner and so on, but nothing in deep detail.
Do you remember when you first came to America, your first Thanksgiving that you shared?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'll never forget. Every time in life, the first time we do something is something that sticks in our mind.
Great. Now that Christmas is coming up, which is our next holiday, we'd like for you to share some of your Christmas poems that you wrote. Could you do that for us?
Absolutely. I'll be delighted. It's very difficult to write about Christmas because we all know that Christmas, even though it is a big celebration in the Christian world, it brings back memories, sometimes not too pleasant. Sometimes we are surrounded by family and friends, and we have a lot of reasons to celebrate, obviously. And yet we remember our family, our friends from the past, people who cannot be with at this time. So it's a mixture of feelings. It's a bittersweet celebration sometimes. So I wrote a poem called At Christmas. Christmas is colorful, it is rich, friendly, thoughtful, very warm. It is musical and it is peace. Christmas is cheerful, it is family. Once a year, a season of love, memories and hope. Christmas is joyful, it is pretty, blessed and merry, very merry, only for some of us.
Yeah, like you said, a lot of people, they think of Christmas as happy times, but for too many, it's not a happy time.
Unfortunately, there are people who, including myself as a human individual, I cannot celebrate Christmas with my parents, some of my cousins. It's life, but life goes on.
And 99.9% of the commercials out there are geared towards happy family times.
Absolutely.
And that's why this is considered one of the worst times in the season for people for depression, because they see everybody on TV having a great time, and they're saying, well, why is not that, how come that's not me?
Yep, absolutely.
So that's a wonderful poem that really, touches the heart of people who aren't able to, like you said,
Thank
be
you.
with family or friends. Now, I know before we had spoke, and you had mentioned something about the origin of Christmas. Do you have some information about that?
Well, Christmas.
Or Santa Claus, I believe it was. The origin of Santa Claus?
Yes, well, one thing is attached with the other one, but almost by accident.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to be prejudiced, but in the Christmas celebration, the Spanish culture makes more sense than the American culture, because Christmas is a time for celebration, and the gifts we offer one another have something to do with the gifts brought by the locals in Bethlehem, the shepherds, and especially the three wise men. So when the Spanish celebrate the gifts to the kids, because of the three wise men, they are thinking of the visit of these three individuals coming with a present to baby Jesus. In America, that was changed by having a Santa Claus coming out of the North Pole, and he became the star of Christmas, when in the Christian world, Christmas is nothing but the celebration of the birthday of Jesus Christ. So it's a kind of, Santa Claus is a typical American invention. Santa Claus came from originally Saint Nicholas. And Saint Nicholas, we have to go back to the 3rd century. I think it was in the year 295, something like that, where he was born. He became a very popular individual. He was a very wealthy person, very rich, and Christian, of course. He was baptized, but he was born in the land we now recognize as Turkey, which is obviously a Muslim country for the large majority. And this individual, Nicholas, as he grew up older, wiser, and extremely rich because of his family inheritance, gave all his money away to poor people in the towns. So his life became very well known in the area where he lived, and everybody was thinking of him as a Santa Claus. He was giving money, he was giving food, he was doing very well for the poor and the needy. And this was known by the church, the Christian church at that time, which was Catholic. And they made him a saint. In Europe, he became a popular individual, especially by the Dutch. And in Ireland also he became a big guy. And eventually he came to America. And because of the Dutch, he came to the New York area. And as a matter of fact, I believe St. Nicholas is the saint patron of New York, New York City. This is all because of the Dutch, the Catholic Dutch. And he was adapted as a figure to honor, to look up to him. And of course, the commercialized atmosphere around Christmas time picked him up as a focus of attention. And they made a character out of Saint Nicholas. The character was the guy we know with the white beard, with the black boots, with a red outfit, with a funny hat, an individual coming from the North Pole. That has nothing to do with Saint Nicholas, born in Turkey. But the rest is history. Everybody enjoys Santa Claus, and he is a big individual. The poem is called Santa Speaks. One more time, I have to go. Pack the gifts for everyone. and be done throughout the night. Although it is once a year, I surely have a routine. I have been doing it forever, without no one on my way. Lately, things are different, if not changing our mood, especially the adults waiting me to update the outfit I've been wearing for so long. I still live in the North Pole. I am surrounded by elves who graciously offer help in my travels round the earth. So, forget the comfortable limo some of you kindly provide, even with nostalgic pride. The reindeers on the sled are my way of transportation, and without a confrontation, I want to keep it that way. I do it for the children and the spirit of the season that bring big smiles for all. So, do not call me a myth, for I just might myth you.
Very nice. Question I wanted to ask you, as far as the holidays, the differences, was there any difference in celebrating New Year's Eve when you were young in Spain opposed to how Americans celebrate it?
No, it is just about thing. New Year's Eve is New Year's Eve. It's a big celebration, just like people go to New York City in Times Square and they celebrate big time, and this is everywhere in the world. Every city, every town in Spain, they have a point of focus where the young and the crazy and the drunk get together and celebrate New Year's Eve. It's just the same.
Do they drop a ball too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh really?
Oh yes, oh yes. That
and
is
fireworks and everything?
Absolutely. It's a big holiday.
Oh, so that's
and
cool.
that night nobody goes to sleep.
And I guess they have big New Year's Eve parties too,
Yeah.
huh?
Oh yeah, no, it is very similar to the American celebration.
Speaking of New Year's Eve, I understand you have a poem you've written about Christmas Eve.
Yes, I did write another poem I do call On Christmas Eve. A dark blanket of sky lays upon another evening that surrenders to the night. Without putting up a fight or any signs of resistance, if I put aside the lights of color, joy and goodwill that adhere to the houses throughout most of the township, right outside it feels like ice, and the frigid wind smacks the windows with the natural persistence of anyone who cannot wait anymore, like the kids inside the house, looking under the Christmas tree for the last time on Christmas Eve.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful imagery with the words. When did you write that? Do you remember?
The poem was written way back in 1997, I believe, and it was published in one of my chapbooks, which I call In the Company of Time. That was a long time ago.
And you said before we had spoke that you had also written New Year's Eve poems?
Indeed. I have a poem.
Do you have any in Spanish?
I do have a poem in Spanish. I don't know if about New Year's Eve, but I wrote a poem that is also a classic in my poetry readings around this time of the year. I call it One More Year. And at last, we are in December. To forget or to remember all of the events we went through. One more year of reforms, substitutions, ups and downs, or unfulfilled resolutions that we thought of way back then. One more year, day by day, in the struggle for survival, fighting back every which way. Commitments, new approaches with success, disappointments, some achievements, drops of sweat. Old ideas full of rust, roads we walked covered with dust. One more year of filling in page after page after page as we write our life's book. One page at a time, we have reached the final chapter, hoping that what you desire around Christmas may come true. I look forward to this season, and I know that you do too. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and the best to all of you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Do you have any other New Year's Eve poems you'd like to read?
Yes, the poem is called Year's End. Finally the day is over and I left work to come home. Out in the street, the frigid mood of the wind was felt on my face, so I walked to my retreat as fast as I could. Once indoors, I found a place to spend time with the intentions to rest up. Opened the gates of deep thoughts, looking for an old movie as well as a glass of wine to celebrate the occasion. A toast to the evening, the year coming to its final day in the calendar. The music was playing, the wine tasted good, the movie could wait, but not this blanket piece of paper. Wanting the ink from a pen, holding on its last cartridge in my soul at year's end.
Nice.
Thank you.
Do you have any other ones?
Not about this subject of Christmas Eve.
Well, speaking of holidays, and since this is the holiday episode of Inside the Artist, we would all enjoy any holiday poems that you wrote. Even ones about that chubby groundhog that's almost never right.
I didn't write a particular poem about the subject, but on holidays, I've written a lot, but when people ask me to write something about something in particular, there are poets who can do it. Upon request, they will write about anything. I found out in my case it only comes up when I feel like it, when my mood tells me how to go about it. So I remember maybe I go back to 6 years ago, a friend of mine invited me to a veterans reunion in the lodge. It was here in Pennsylvania, not too far away from here. And it was a celebration of the American holiday they call Veterans Day, which in my opinion is a very nice gesture to honor these people who have served in the military, the Navy, the Air Force, whatever.
Such as yourself?
Branch. Well, me it's a different story because I serve in the military in the country of Spain. But
So, sir,
my friend called me to go, he invited me to go to this place and he asked me, could you write something? I said, well, I don't know. I did come up with something, somehow. And I read a poem in front of the group while having dinner and they seemed to enjoy it. So if you don't mind, I
Sure,
can
we
read
would love
this poem, which has something to do with an American holiday, which is called Veterans Day. On Veterans Day, Veterans Day is not just another date marked on the calendar in red. It is a chosen, precious day to salute the ones who gave the best years of their lives, serving their country in military uniform, fighting for justice, defending the rights of democracy, most of us take for granted. The liberty we all enjoy, it is just because of them. Men and women who have served with pride and done it so well. Then even if we say thank you, it is not enough to pay back every ounce of pure honor all the veterans deserve.
Very well.
Thank you.
What holiday message would you like to give to all of your readers out there and your viewers and your listeners?
Obviously, at this time of the year, I want to wish everybody good health, stay safe. Unfortunately, we are going through this COVID that is killing everybody, if not physically, at least mentally. We all are tired, demolished by all this propaganda on the media, on social conversations. I mean, we are demoralized. This is not doing any good to society. Unfortunately, we have lost people. They gave up, or the COVID going around has taken care of many lives. I mean, it is a disaster. It is something that we have never, our generation, have never experienced before. So my message to all the people is have a safe holidays and enjoy the new year. Hopefully it will be better for all of us.
We'd also like to know where we could purchase copies of your books that you published.
My books can be found online by putting my name in Google, say Emiliano Martin, author of poetry books, something like that. And I will appear in many internet outlets. Amazon has my books, Barnes & Noble, Lulu.com, Google Reads, even some internet sites in other countries like India, Italy, France, Canada, Australia. I mean, the internet is packed with opportunities for any writer to exhibit her works. So if you click on the internet in Google, my name, Emiliano Martin, author of poetry books, I will appear in many outlets. And if you acquire my books, you will be delighted. I hope so.
Do you have any books that you're almost ready to publish?
I do have 2 manuscripts ready, almost ready, for 2022.
Do you have working titles?
One is going to be called Layers of Complexity. Was an optional title because I always play around with what title am I going to use. And the other one will be Walk in the Clouds, something like that. Again, the titles may change because I change my mind almost at the last minute. And when I talk to the publisher, we get to a compromise. But the manuscripts are ready, almost ready. I have to do a final pass, and that will take me about 3-4 weeks.
So looking early 2022?
Early 2022, yeah, probably by February we'll be ready, I hope.
Great, we all look forward to it. Mr. Martin, author and poet, thank you so much for sharing your time and your amazing talent as a writer with all of us. Have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We look forward to new projects such as the 2 you mentioned before and new holiday poems from you in 2022.
Hopefully so. Thank you, John.